Buenos días.
Good morning. Good morning. So I'm going to try
El
something
día de
different
hoy
today.
es día de
Today is
luto porque se recuerda
a day
la
of mourning.
pérdida de la vida de niños, bebés
It's the loss
de
of
la
lives,
guardería
children,
ABC en
kindergarten for
Hermosillo,
ABC,
49 niños,
49 children,
106
106
heridos,
were hurt.
y por eso
And that's why
vamos a informar
we're going to
a
inform
los mexicanos
Mexicans
sobre este asunto,
regarding this matter.
este hecho lamentable que conmovió
This
y sigue todavía
sad
doliendo al pueblo
that
de
hurt
México, y
people so
también
much, but
tenemos la
continues to hurt.
obligación de informar a sus familiares
But we also have
sobre lo que
the obligation to inform their family
está haciendo
over what we are
y
doing about it,
llevar a cabo
and to take
este gobierno, en este
that the government is going
nuevo
about
tiempo,
doing
en esta nueva
in this new time
administración,
with this new
en este
administration,
nuevo gobierno.
with this new
Entonces,
government.
vamos a pedirle a Zoe,
So we're going to ask
Robledo,
Zoe,
que es director del Seguro Social,
the
de
director of
la
Social
nueva
Security,
exposición, y también
and that he,
a Alejandro Encinas,
Alex Encinas,
su secretario de Derechos Humanos,
Director
de
of
la
Human
Secretaría
Rights,
de Gobernación,
and the
que
Secretary of
nos
Government,
expongan sobre estos lamentables hechos y que no olvidemos.
so that we can
Entonces,
talk about
Zoe,
this sad
adelante.
situation, and that it won't happen, so it won't happen again.
Con su permiso, señor presidente, muy buenos días
Good day
a todas y
to
a
everyone,
todos.
including the president.
Efectivamente, el día de hoy es un día de duelo nacional,
Today is a
como
day of
todos los
pain for
años y
for
por
the
siempre,
nation,
para
and
que no
every
se
year,
olvide, para que no se repita,
so that
la
we won't
bandera
forget it
estará
and it won't
mediante
be
todas las
repeated.
dependencias públicas. Hay 4
For-
temas adicionales y muy puntuales que quisiera informar que llevará a cabo el Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social.
there's a
Uno,
few things they're
se
going
va a
to be doing.
realizar un simulacro simultáneo en las 1,416 guarderías del IMSS a las 10 de la mañana. Ese
So they're going to be doing a simultaneous meeting at the kindergartens, 4 other kindergartens.
segundo lugar, se están reanudando, acelerando las obras del nuevo centro de atención inmediata para casos
So they're opening up immediately some centers for people with situations,
especiales, el CAICE, allá en Hermosillo,
like
Sonora.
special
Es un centro que
places
tiene
like
por
Kaiser,
objeto apoyar y garantizar la atención de las necesidades médicas, físicas y emocionales a las que
that centers that can help with emotional, physical needs.
tienen acceso 1,023 familias afectadas directa e indirectamente por el
So they're offering help to the family to more than 1,000 people that were either involved or affected by the situation.
siniestro del 5 de junio de 2009. Hoy es
So it's the sinister thing that happened in June on the 5th in 2009.
CAICE tiene un avance del 79%, sin embargo ya tendría que
So Kaiser has an increase of 79%, but even so, now we would,
haber estado al 100%.
we wish that we should be or have been at 100%.
Debería de haber iniciado su operación en marzo de 2018.
The operation should have been initiated in March 2018.
Se está haciendo todo para acelerar, firmar el último convenio para la
So we're doing everything to accelerate and to form the last committee
la nueva fecha y poderlo tener ya en funcionamiento en los próximos meses. Por otra parte, como se sabe, en febrero del 2010 se constituyó un fideicomiso dirigido.
So they said they're working on getting that finished. And then there's another item. They've made a financial commission
Para otorgar las ayudas extraordinarias
to give help people with extraordinary needs
para los menores de edad que resultaron lesionados,
for the young children that were somehow injured,
para las madres de los menores fallecidos, para los
and for the mothers of the children that died,
menores lesionados y para las maestras.
and also for the children that were the mothers of the children that died, and for the teachers
Y otros adultos que resultaron lesionados.
and all other adults and teachers that also were injured in some way.
Y desde entonces ha sido una solicitud de varios padres y madres de los niños que
Since then, they've had several applications by the mothers and fathers of those children
desafortunadamente perdieron la vida
that unfortunately lost their lives. So these children lost their lives at some kind of kindergarten. I'm not sure what the reason was for that.
tener una participación en el Consejo Técnico de este fideicomiso. Es un asunto muy
So they are going to allow those parents to be involved in that committee.
importante.
It's
Y
very
estoy realizando todas las gestiones conducentes para que la
So he's doing all the proper activities in order to get it moving forward and become ready to deal with the situation.
próxima sesión del Comité Técnico de este fideicomiso, que
So the next fideicomiso, so that is what they call it, a fideicomiso. It's like some kind of, I thought it was like a financial commission, but it looks like it's a commission like to deal with a certain situation. In fact, let me look it up. Fideicomiso. That doesn't seem right. I think it's a new word they made up, fideo. Fideo is a noodle. Comiso, fideo. Maybe fiduciary commission? I think it's, yeah, like fiduciary. But I don't know what, let me see what, how you would say fideo. Fiduciary, because that doesn't translate in the Spanish dictionary. Yeah, fiduciario. So yeah, it's probably from fiduciaries, because they call it fideicomiso. So that comiso, I believe, is like a commission, short for commission. So commission. Okay, so anyway, so some fiduciary commission.
es en donde se aprueban todas las ayudas extraordinarias de los técnicos.
So that's where they would help the extraordinary needs for the people that
Beneficiarios se logra
also for the beneficiaries of this situation.
la incorporación en sus reglas de operación de dos representantes de las familias afectadas para que
So they will also have two representatives from the families that were
participen
affected
con voz en el otorgamiento de los beneficios de esta
to also have a voice in the otorgamiento. Let me see. otorgamiento. I think it's like dispensing of
establecidos. Y desde luego un tema que ha estado circulando y ha estado en la atención de los medios de comunicación y desde luego también de los padres y de todas las personas afectadas es la denuncia.
So also, they know that another matter that is very important is to the denuncia, which is like to denounce somebody, to tell on somebody. Let's see. Denuncia. For some reason, I can't think of the translation. Complaint. Good Lord, that's what I mean. The complaint. So, also regarding the complaint. Now let me look at my volume there. Okay.
Ya, que interpuso el IMSS, la denuncia penal en la Fiscalía General de la
IMSS
En ese sentido quisiera
put in a
informar lo siguiente.
complaint
Primero,
on their
efectivamente,
behalf,
se
I guess.
presentó una denuncia el pasado 22 de mayo.
From the
Esta
22nd
denuncia
of
fue
May.
suscrita por Francisco Javier Morales Oviedo, quien se desempeña como coordinador de programas en la Coordinación de Investigación y Asuntos de Defraudación de la División de
So this fellow they assigned to, let me see if I can go back, you hear the names again.
Morales Oviedo, quien se desempeña como
Morales
coordinador de
Oviedo.
programas en la Coordinación de
He's the coordinator of the programs
Investigación y Asuntos de Defraudación
regarding investigations and where it has something to do with being defrauded.
de la División de Análisis y Formulación de Denuncias
For the Division of Analysis and Complaints
de la Dirección Jurídica de IMSS. Lo digo por-
with the Judicial Department of the IMSS, which is like their Social Security Department.
porque
The
es
reason I'm
nuestro
saying it
entender, la
is because it's our understanding that the complaint
denuncia me fue informada el pasado 3 de junio
was, and the complaint was entered the last 3rd of June.
Como señalé, se presentó el 22 de mayo justo en el
So they did it around the 22nd of May.
momento del cambio de la dirección
So they did it exactly at the time of the change of,
general y
Of
fue
general.
informado esto por uno de los directores normativos del instituto.
so then they went through the rest of the normal procedures of the Institute.
En ese sentido, se me ha sido de mi conocimiento que
That's what has come to he has come to know,
esto obedeció a una petición de las
that this obeyed the petition for
familias afectadas
the affected
y que se
families.
atendió por parte de la anterior dirección general
And that was attended by the previous general.
y en ese sentido nosotros quisiéramos en nuestro nuevo momento de la dirección comentar dos cosas. Primero, que desde
So in related to that, we would like to comment two things.
luego que compartimos todo aquel esfuerzo que pueda tener para llegar a la justicia que se demanda
So we just want to let you know about all the esfuerzos. Esfuerzos is when you're trying very hard, but let me see what's the word. Effort. Esfuerzos is effort. So all the efforts that are being done to work on that as soon as possible.
desde hace 10 años. De todo aquel que tenga que ser investigado.
This has been worked on
lo
for
sea.
10 years, and that all those that need to be investigated, be investigated.
Sin embargo, también lo decimos con claridad, no
And we are also saying with clarity that
creemos que esta denuncia deba de convertirse solamente en un anuncio que debe de
so we want to let you know that this complaint should not just be what's another word for renuncio? Renuncio. like to a pronouncement, or because they say the wrong word there, I'm sure. Let me see. Okay, I'm not sure what. No, I'm not sure. Renunciation, renouncement.
Revisarse para evitar que forme parte de una acción que no tras
So that it will not go as form of one action, like in the form of a part of a legal action.
tienda en el ámbito de la justicia. Y por eso soy de la opinión que debe de fortalecerse tomando en cuenta el que yo considero que es el esfuerzo más destacable que se ha realizado.
So he thinks that they need to work on it and to put all their efforts in, since this complaint seems to be the most outstanding.
El que realizó justamente la Suprema Corte de Justicia
That realized or caused the Supreme Court of Justice
de la Nación y que se plasmó en este proyecto de sentencia del
in this that was then put into this project of sentencing.
caso de la guardería ABC, que en su
So regarding the case of the ABC kindergarten.
momento presentó el hoy presidente de la Corte, el ministro Saldívar.
So the minister Saldívar is the one who presented that paper to them in the Superior Court.
Como lo saben, en aquel momento este proyecto fue rechazado por la Corte.
So as you know, at that time, the court declined to see this document.
Solo tuvo 3 votos favorables.
And they only had 3 pictures that were favorable.
Luego del ministro Saldívar,
And then the minister Saldívar at that time,
entonces ministra Sánchez Cordero y del ministro Mesa. ¿Por qué lo señalo? Porque en este documento
so why am I signaling this out? It's because in this document
de más de 350 páginas,
of more than 350 pages,
primero la Corte ejerció, me parece que por última vez, el ejercicio de la facultad de investigación. Se hizo un protocolo
so it created a protocol for investigation by the courts.
de investigación, se hicieron informes preliminares, se nombró una comisión
So they made a preliminary information. Informes are like announcements or something like that. Report. Okay, informe is report. So they made preliminary reports.
son
And a
cerca
commission.
de 13 considerados, una investigación sobre el origen de los convenios de
So there's about 13 that are considering this information regarding this situation.
subrogación celebrados por el IMSS, 57 testimonios de los padres y los familiares de los menores
And they also have 57 testimonies from the parents and those related to the children.
afectados, 12
That were
testimonios de las
affected.
maestras de la guardería ABC, 10 testimonios
And they have 12 testimonies from the teachers and 10 testimonies from
de ciudadanos voluntarios, 173
some voluntary citizens.
testimonios
173 testimonies from
de policías, bomberos que participaron
policemen, firemen that participated
en las labores de auxilio, entre otros
in the assistance efforts
elementos de prueba y argumentos jurídicos que son de gran
that had proof and evidence or for that could be used in the area of justice.
valor para este caso.
And they know it has value for this case.
En ese sentido es que debe valorarse si el exgobernador Bush es el único que pudiera ser incluido en la denuncia.
So he says, then it says that the governor Bush should be the only one to be included in the complaint.
Por eso se requiere de un ejercicio de la mayor responsabilidad.
That's why it requires a exercise of the most responsibility, to be done responsibly.
En un momento fueron señalados 18 funcionarios de los tres.
And originally there was 18 I guess people that were in charge. Okay, funders. Oh, these funcionarios are funders. Okay. So there was some funders.
Es órdenes del gobierno, el federal, el estatal y el municipal, y después otros adicionales, 7 más. Por eso.
So they had 7. They had quite a few places that were going to be providing the funds for, I guess, for the people.
Estaremos muy atentos del trámite que establezca la Fiscalía General de la República.
So they're very aware and monitoring what is going to be, awarded by the fiscal area.
Para ratificarla y en su caso también reforzarla. Y también
and also to ratify it and to reinforce it.
Ampliar la denuncia. Entonces, en ese sentido,
and also to amplify the complaint.
Estamos muy pendientes de las siguientes acciones de la Fiscalía General de la República.
So we're very attentive to the what the actions are going to be for the Fiscal General of the Republic.
Sea todo, señor presidente.
So now the president, no, this other man.
Señor presidente,
With your permission, Mr. President, and he's mentioning the jury, somehow it's got to do with the jury or legal stuff.
Señor presidente de la República, nos ha instruido al Secretario de Gobernación, al Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social, para
So they've been informed that they are to be subordinate to the Department of Investigation.
atender a los padres, a las madres, a los familiares de todas las víctimas de esta
And that they need to attend to the parents, family, children, and all the victims of this
terrible tragedia en la guardería
tragedy that happened in the kindergarten.
ABC.
ABC.
Y hemos establecido los contactos y compromisos iniciales para
And we've begun the contacts, initial contacts,
lograr una solución definitiva a estas
so we can come to a definitive agreement to these.
asuntos, atendiendo las
Situations.
preocupaciones, las demandas de los familiares,
To attend the demands and preoccupations or worries of the families,
siempre poniendo por encima el derecho y el interés fundamental y legítimo de la infancia para resolver esta.
and always maintaining the rights and
A lo largo de estos 10 años, los padres han adoptado distintas formas de organización y de representación.
so over the years, parents and family have adopted different organizations,
Legal, las cuales reconocemos plenamente que están en su derecho y
and we recognize that they are within their rights.
estamos en la búsqueda de una solución equitativa, igualitaria, justa,
And we are looking for a solution that is just, among other things,
para que se dé satisfacción no solamente a los niños, sino también a los familiares que fueron
so we can give satisfaction to not only the children, but the parents that lost their children
afectados por esta
and that
tragedia.
were affected by
Por
this
eso
tragedy.
hemos venido hablando algunos temas que se ven incluso judicializados.
So we are now dealing with some of the matters that were previously not attended to or had not been adjudicated to.
El caso de algunos amparos que se presentaron como recursos ante la falta de resolución de la comisión.
So because there was no initial resolution to the situation or financial resolution, they did do some money to cover temporarily, I guess, till they figured out what they were gonna, how it was gonna come out with the legal situation, because that can take years. So they gave attention to the victims, which they are, that we are in the process of complying. So by about the middle of this month, we will be done with complying with the situations in totality.
La resolución de algunos procesos que todavía se encuentran dentro del proceso judicial,
with the exception of some processes which are still being dealt with in the judicial process.
Asumimos el compromiso de que las resoluciones y la posición que adoptará el gobierno federal siempre será en la atención a las víctimas y en el ejercicio pleno de sus derechos.
So just bearing in mind that we will always be protecting the rights of the victims and providing them their rights, their basic human rights.
Hay otros temas de carácter procesal que se están llevando como
So there's other matters that are being dealt with for regarding the characters, I guess character letters or characters.
incluso la queja que presentó un grupo de padres y madres de familia.
So this is something regarding a complaint that another group that had fathers and mothers of children regarding that kindergarten ABC.
Comisión Interamericana de Derechos Humanos, y esperamos que en esa ruta podamos avanzar hacia una solución amistosa.
So we hope, or we're hopeful, that with that commission, we will be able to come to a friendly relationship that's satisfactory for both. That this has been going on for many years, and we don't want it to be prolonged.
Much
more.
En el caso de Carranza, tendrá que ser en igualdad de condiciones para todos, el mundo debe ver.
And it also needs to be the same conditions for everyone. There needs to be equality, and they can't be like put one above the other. For the fine, whatever's going to be given to the victims of this tragedy.
Y algunos otros temas que tenemos que salvar, como ya hemos señalado aquí el director del Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social, por supuesto la disculpa pública.
So there's a few other matters that we're going to have to deal with this, and of course the public disculpa. No, I need to know how to say that word. Excuse, like to excuse themselves publicly. Okay, so to excuse themselves publicly.
Que a solicitud de los padres de familia será hasta que alcancemos un acuerdo de fondo.
So that they will have to wait till they come to an agreement on the funds or the funding
construcción de un memorial,
and the construction of a memorial site or a memorial
la restauración del memorial que actualmente existe,
and some kind of restoration of Maurino Huerta. I'm not sure what that is.
que está abandonado.
Oh, something that has been abandoned.
Y mantendremos, como lo ha indicado el señor presidente de la República,
And we will maintain it as the president has indicated.
la comunicación con los representantes legales y los padres de familia.
And we will continue the communication with the parents and legal guardians.
Para tratar de trazar en muy corto plazo una solución que lamentablemente e injustamente se ha prolongado a lo largo.
So they want to hurry up and proceed with this so that they can come to a final agreement, because this has been unjust for them to have waited so long.
It's
another president.
Bueno, esta es la información.
So this is the information that has to do with
lamentable
the sad situation
niñas, niños fallecidos
of
en la guardería.
boys and girls died in the kindergarten.
Vamos, si ustedes no tienen por ahora nada que preguntar sobre este tema,
If you have nothing to ask regarding this matter, or topic,
o les propongo que Alejandro nos explique también sobre dos asuntos vinculados con los derechos humanos. Uno del acuerdo de Chenaló y el otro de la libertad a quienes estaban injustamente presos.
Bueno, afortunadamente, el día de ayer se suscribió un pacto de no agresión que va a
So yesterday they made a new pact.
marcar un hito muy importante en la región, en esta región de los Altos de Chiapas, que es
In the region of Chiapas,
un acuerdo entre las autoridades constitucionales y
that it's an agreement between the constitutional authorities
las autoridades tradicionales de los
and traditional authorities
municipios de Aldama y de Chenaló.
of the municipalities of Aldama and Chilalo.
Este es un proceso de conflicto que se ha prolongado a lo largo de más de 4 décadas.
So this is a conflict that has been prolonged more than 40 decades.
En los últimos meses
For
se ha
4 decades.
reconocido el genocidio de 34 personas,
And it has to do with also the homicide of 34 people
una tensión muy fuerte entre las comunidades,
that
pero
has put tension that is very, there's very strong tension between the communities.
la voluntad política expresa de las comunidades para llegar a un acuerdo de paz y reconciliación ha sido determinante. El día de ayer se suscribió por primera vez sentado en la mesa después de muchos años estas autoridades y se firmó un pacto
So for the first time in many years, these authorities sat down and wrote this pact,
muy concreto.
very
en donde
concrete.
no solamente se reconoce la necesidad de crear las condiciones de paz y de
So where they recognize that it's not just necessary to reconciliate and put this place for peace,
conciliación de la región, sino buscar los mecanismos que nos permitan reconstruir
and also to look for the mechanisms that will permit us to reconstruct
el tejido social y las condiciones para
the social tejido social, let me see what that is. Social fabric, okay. Tejido social is social fabric. I'm sorry, I have to write these words because they might use them again. I don't want to forget again.
para que, respetando a sus ancestros, como ellos mismos nos señalaron el día de ayer,
Because respecting their ancestors, as they themselves said yesterday,
se encuentre con inteligencia, con sabiduría, los instrumentos que permitan
so that they do with wisdom the instruments that are
tolerancia, respeto, reconocimiento
tolerance, respect, and recognizing
para la diversidad.
of diversity.
Este programa es el inicio de un pacto que inicia las condiciones para la restauración de la paz en esta región.
So this is a pact that initiates the restoration of peace in the region,
Del estado de Chiapas,
in the state of Chiapas,
acompañado de acciones muy puntuales que van, por ejemplo, el acuerdo
that are activities that, for example, will go
que se adoptó el día de ayer para permitir la libertad de tránsito a través de dos rutas que ligan a ambas
to permit the transit or being able to transit between two routes
comunidades que estaban cerradas,
to the communities that were closed,
cada una por una comunidad respectivamente,
each with their respective communities,
hasta todos los apoyos en materia humanitaria,
and also the support in the humanitarian
atención de los servicios de salud,
with the services of social security,
implementación de todos los programas sociales del gobierno
and the implementation of all the social programs in the government,
federal, el apoyo de
in
las
the federal government, and the support of,
brigadas juveniles con proyectos especiales de integración
and with special programs of integration
de los jóvenes al desarrollo de la región,
for the youth in the development of the region,
establecimiento de un plantel de la Universidad Benito Juárez en esta región de
and there is the establishment of a I don't know, like a place for Benito Juárez,
Carranza y Chenalo, que van a construir, a facilitar esas condiciones de paz.
They're going to be constructing this as a condition of peace.
Tenemos que reconocer la buena voluntad y los buenos oficios del gobierno.
And we need to recognize the good, how should I say, voluntad. Voluntad, it actually means will, the goodwill of the government
Del Estado,
and the state,
del Obrador de Chiapas, Espíritu Santo,
and of the government of Chiapas, Governor of Chiapas, Porfirio,
como el secretario de gobierno,
and the Secretary of the
que han
Government,
ayudado mucho
and who has helped a lot
en este proceso,
in this
como sucedió
process.
anteriormente en el municipio de Amatán, cuando después de
That occurred in the municipality of Matan,
una lamentable confrontación que trajo también muertes trágicas.
that had a lamentable meeting or confrontation where unfortunately
En esta región logramos un acuerdo político para la conformación de un consejo municipal.
so we're going to be doing bringing together a municipal consejo. Boy, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words today. Municipal advisory. Okay.
Ha sido una instrucción, una encomienda particular
So we have been instructed and commended particularly
del presidente de la República, crear las condiciones de paz y reconciliación
to bring the conditions or to assist with the conditions for reconciliation and friendship
en muchas regiones del país, y esperemos que este pacto
in many of the regions of the country, and we hope that this pact
que hoy inicia este proceso de transición en esta región de Chiapas.
that that we're initiating to help with the transit in this region of Chiapas.
Sea un ejemplo que podamos replicar en
That will be an example that we will be able to replicate
otras regiones donde prevalece confrontación.
in other regions where confrontations persist,
Entre comunidades y pueblos indígenas.
of the areas that have indigent people that are in confronting each other.
Y el segundo tema que
And the
queremos
second matter.
referirnos el día de hoy, que es muy importante,
Another matter that we're dealing with today that is very important,
continuando con estos actos de justicia,
to continue with these actions of justice,
como son la liberación de defensores del territorio y los recursos naturales,
which has to deal with the the incarcerated defenders of the environment
que lamentablemente se encuentran presos en muchas cárceles del país.
that lamentably are found in many jails of our country.
Queremos presentarles, vamos a pedir a los compañeros de la comunidad de Salazar del Estado de México, nos van a acompañar aquí con el presidente de la República para hacer.
So these are political prisoners that were fighting for the environment that have been incarcerated, and they're going to be doing something about that right now.
La presentación, toda vez que el pasado jueves 23 de mayo fueron liberados 6 de los defensores del territorio.
The 23rd of May, six were liberated, 6 defenders
Directorio de la comunidad de Salazar en el Estado de México,
in the community of Salazar in the state of Mexico,
que se encontraban presos en el centro de adaptación social de Santiaguito, allá en la muralla de Juárez, en esa entidad.
in that area of Juarez. And I'm not sure exactly all those other words he said, I'm sorry.
Esa liberación fue el resultado de un proceso en donde la propia juez resolvió que la causa penal por la que se encontraban ellos detenidos no era consistente, no había elementos suficientes.
So that was a case where the judge herself reviewed the cases and saw that there was not enough elements or evidence showing that they should be incarcerated.
De prueba y obtuvieron su libertad incondicional sin
So they got in unconditional liberty without
ningún cargo.
any charges.
Ellos son los compañeros Fermín Esquivel Rojas,
Okay, these are the people: Fermín Esquivel Rojas,
Miguel Ángel Vilchis García,
Miguel Ángel Vilchis García,
Yurico Maribel Becerril,
Yurico Maribel Becerril,
Deyanira Becerril Villavicencio,
Deyadila Becerrila de Licencio,
Beatriz Pérez Flores y
Beatriz Pérez Flores,
Humberto Vilchis Garza,
and Gilberto Vilchis Garza,
en donde han obtenido su sentencia absoluta.
that the sentence has been cleared absolutely.
Todavía vamos a continuar con estos procesos de paz y de justicia para defender
So we're going to continue with these processes of peace and justice
a quienes indebida e injustamente han sido detenidos, en este caso
for those that have unjustly been detained.
tiene que ver con la defensa de 217 hectáreas de bosque y tierras comunales.
It has to do with the defense of 200 hectares of land that was community property,
Que pretendían favorecer a particulares, pero que muy
that particular people were trying to take over,
dignamente ellos han defendido
and they defended
Con el costo de la pérdida de su libertad y hoy
at the cost of the loss of their liberty.
se les hace justicia.
And today we are giving them justice.
Yo quería hacer un comentario, por favor.
You want to make a comment? And so the first man is making a comment.
Buenos días, señores y señores. Al pueblo de México, a las defensoras y defensores de derechos humanos, a las comunidades que nos tendieron la mano, a
So he's saying the defenders that and those that extended their hand to us,
gobierno federal,
and
a los medios de comunicación,
and the federal the federal government and the media for communication.
agradecemos el espacio que se nos ha otorgado.
We appreciate the space that has been given us. Or granted us.
Esta conferencia,
In this
la lucha que ha llevado mi comunidad de Salazar para el reconocimiento de la propiedad de las tierras y de la injusticia que padecimos como defensores de nuestro territorio.
And it's regarding the injustice we received regarding the defense of our territory.
Ya que fuimos criminalizados bajo la complicidad de altos intereses,
As we were punished with the due to the interests of people in high places,
económicos y políticos.
political and economical interests.
Agradecemos el tiempo y seguimiento que la Secretaría de Derechos Humanos a cargo del licenciado Encinas
So the attorney in CNAS is the one that kept working on their behalf.
brindó a nuestra lucha social y atender el reclamo de justicia, todo ello bajo el encargo del compromiso de campaña que realizó el señor presidente Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador.
And it was all due to the campaign that the President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador initiated
De liberar a todos los presos políticos.
to all political prisoners.
Yo soy Gilberto Vicius García,
I am Gilberto García,
representante propietario de bienes comunales de la comunidad agraria de Salazar. Salazar es un pueblo que forma parte del municipio de Lerma.
So he is from Salazar, a community that is part of the municipality of Lerma, and he's a proprietor of some lands there
En el Estado de México.
in the state of Mexico.
Se encuentra ubicado a la altura del kilómetro 36.5 de la carretera México-Toluca. Está integrada por un caserío de 500 familias que además cuenta con superficie partidaria.
So apparently, in that community, there was a problem with it's by a highway, and there's other 5,000 people that were affected. And it looks like my computer's locking up, so I'm going to go forward a little bit. Sometimes you have to do that. There we go.
De las dos grandes capitales, la capital de la República y la capital del Estado de México.
So the two capitals of the Republic and the state of Mexico.
En los últimos años hemos enfrentado diversos procesos jurídicos para evitar el despojo de nuestro territorio que pretende llevar a cabo San Manuel Tarasquillo, comunidad con la que se tiene un conflicto de límites de territorio.
So they're having a conflict with the limits of territory.
Y quien promovió un juicio agrario del número 446/2000.
And they're the ones that moved the action against them, the legal action against them.
radicado en el Tribunal Unitario Agrario con residencia en Toluca, Estado de México, donde solicitaron que se les restituyeran las tierras.
They solicited that their lands be given back to them.
Tierras que ellos nunca han poseído
Lands that they had never possessed
y que nosotros tenemos en posesión
and that they had in possession
ancestral desde
from their ancestors
tiempos inmemoriales.
from immeasurable or for so long.
Alegando que supuestamente se las invadimos en 1966.
And they're alleging that we invaded those lands in 1966.
Siendo que ahí hemos vivido mis abuelos, mi padre y ahora nosotros.
And what occurred is that my grandparents, my parents, and now we inhabit that area.
El pasado 17 de agosto de 2017
The past 17th of August 2017,
establecida la sentencia
they established a sentence
en el juicio agrario 446 diagonal
in the juicio, like a judgment number 444
2005
in 2005,
cumplimiento de la sentencia ejecutoria dictada en el juicio de amparo 9 de noviembre de 2016 con número 445 diagonal 2014.
So he's giving the diagonal, the diagonal and the coordinates to the property.
Dicha sentencia fue dictada por el Tribunal Unitario Agrario número 9 de la ciudad de Toluca.
So he says that sentence was brought out by the number 9 court in the city of Toluca or something like that.
La cual resuelve que no procede la restitución de tierras requerida por San Manuel Tarasquillo. Se le reconoce a la personalidad jurídica como representante comunal propietario de la comunidad agraria de Salazar. En dichas tierras, es decir, la justicia ha ordenado que se respete el derecho a las tierras y la posesión histórica de nuestra comunidad.
So there was an order for the state to recognize their right to stay on those lands because it was historically their land.
Casualmente, 14 días después de emitida dicha sentencia,
And so 14 days later, after the sentencing,
es que se lleva a cabo el operativo de las detenciones de nosotros
and then they began the detentions of us.
teniendo en cuenta que tenía como rectificar la solicitud y que quedara firme, tuve que hacerlo desde el penal de Moya de Juárez, por lo que con mi encarcelamiento no dejé de defender la tierra. Ya
She says that even though I was in prison, I was able to send my appeals that even though I was incarcerated, I continued to fight for my land.
que ellos, los de San Manuel Tarasquillo, ya habían vendido nuestras tierras a la gente de gran poder
And they had already sold our lands to people of great power,
económico y político.
of economical and political power.
Y con esa sentencia se venía abajo su negocio. Las
And using that sentence, they continued with their business.
vendieron a pesar de que aún no se acaba el litigio agrario.
And they sold it even though the litigation had not ended.
Vendieron a pesar de que había una medida cautelar que ordenaba que las cosas se mantuvieran en el
Even though there was an order for things to remain the way they had always been, they went ahead and sold it.
estado en que se encontraban, hasta en tanto no se resolviera el juicio. Por esas ventas son ilegales, ya que violaron dicha medida cautelar. Para terminar, quiero decir que he dedicado toda mi vida a
Those sales were illegal as they violated the laws that were set forth for us to be able to keep our lands. And to end, I'm going to say
cuidar y velar los bosques y la tierra de mi querido Salazar,
that he wanted to protect the forests and the land of his beloved Salazar.
y lo seguiré haciendo. Me canso ganso. Muchas gracias.
And I will continue to do that. I will not stop. Me canso ganso is kind of Andres Manuel's saying that if I say it will be so, kind of like, or I will not stop till I will not get tired of trying, basically.
Gracias. Y cedo la palabra a mi compañera Dani.
And he's going to let Danny talk now.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Daleira Quiqueives en el Villavicencio. Y hace aproximadamente un año 10 meses la tranquilidad de nuestra comunidad fue violada. A las 2 de la madrugada del 31 de agosto de...
About a year and 9 months ago, the tranquility of my family was interrupted as at 2 in the morning
del 2017
in 2017
de un operativo que el gobierno del Estado de México
that the government of the state of Mexico, an operation from the government of the state of Mexico,
armó con más de 1,000 elementos de la policía ministerial
that put together with more than 1,000 members of the police force of the state,
policía estatal, granaderos y militares, con
military,
exceso
that with
de
excess,
violencia y fuerza policial desmedida,
that with measures that were excessive force and unnecessary.
saquearon y destruyeron las casas,
They destroyed the homes and vandalized them. And looted them. And they looted them.
y las que entraron, incluso algunas hicieron detonaciones con sus armas de fuego
And some of them detonated their firearms
para amedrentar a nuestros familiares,
to scare our family members
engañando y asustando a nuestros hijos menores de edad.
and also frightening our young children
Que a la fecha tienen secuelas psicológicas,
that at this time they have psychological issues and scars.
Ello fue una pesadilla.
That was a nightmare.
Esa noche detuvieron con lujo de violencia, peor que a unos delincuentes. No nos presentaron órdenes de aprehensión.
That day they used violence worse than they would do with a criminal, and they didn't even present an order of detention
Al ingresar a nuestras casas,
as they entered our homes.
incluso pensábamos que se trataba de un secuestro o desaparición.
They thought initially that it was where they were going to be kidnapped to be made to disappear
Forzadas de mis compañeros.
and being forced to be forced, kidnapped and made to disappear as some of her other partners.
Compañeros, Beatriz Pérez Flores, Yuriko Maribel Becerril Villavicencio, quien no estuvo presente el día de los hechos imputados.
So she named 2 people, and I think they're the 2 there that were not present on the day that this happened, I guess.
Francisco Ceballos Vargas y Fermín Esquivel Rojas, Gilberto Vilchis García y Miguel Ángel Vilchis García, Miguel Ángel Vilchis Zarza y a su servidora. E iban por uno más, librado Vilchis García, pero a él no lo lograron detener. Cabe señalar que a nosotros nunca se nos aplicó el principio de una presunción de inocencia.
She says that she named a bunch of people, and she said that they were never presented with documentation, and they were also never presumed innocent.
Violando nuestros derechos humanos.
They violated our human rights.
No supimos la razón de nuestra detención sino hasta la primera audiencia.
We didn't know the reason for our detention until the first audience,
En la que se nos vinculó injustamente a proceso con una medida cautelar excesiva de prisión preventiva.
and at that time they informed us that we were going to have this excessive term
Bajo el número de la carpeta 1146-2017.
and she names the number of the file.
Ahí supimos de los delitos que se nos fabricaron.
And there we found out which crimes they had fabricated for us.
Robo con violencia,
Theft with violence,
lesiones y privación ilegal de 3 personas.
holding 3 people illegally,
Derivados de un evento que había ocurrido un año atrás.
and they derived this from something that occurred a year earlier,
30 de septiembre del 2016,
30th of September of 2016,
cuando intentaron despojarnos de nuestras tierras con armas de fuego.
when they attempted to remove us from our lands with firearms.
El día de los hechos, el supuesto abogado Mario Alberto de León Venegas
On the day of the actions, the supposed attorney Manuel Venegas
contrató a varias personas para tomar posesión de nuestro terreno.
contracted some people to take possession of our land.
De Salazar, él se presentó como apoderado del ejido de San Mateo Tarasquillo
He presented himself as the authority for that area of Tarasquillo,
y apoderado de los supuestos compradores de la tierra.
and he was the power of attorney for the people that were going to be taking over the land or purchasing the land.
De la comunidad de Salazar, de los hechos acontecidos este 30 de septiembre del 2016, se levantaron 2 denuncias
And regarding those acts, 2 cases were opened up
del Ministerio Público,
of the Ministry Public,
de Mario Alberto de León Venegas, que culminó con nuestra detención.
So they've made the complaint against Venegas, that attorney, and the city, I guess, or the county that complied, or that was involved or orchestrator of their detention.
Y la de nuestros compañeros Miguel Ángel Vilchis García, por despojo, daños de bienes y disparo de arma de fuego.
And for destituting them and for firing the arms.
La cual del día de hoy no hay ningún seguimiento por
And up to this day, nobody has, there has been no processing of these cases or the complaints
parte de esa autoridad.
on behalf of, by the authority.
Reiteramos el agradecimiento a nuestro presidente
We reiterate our appreciation to our president,
Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, así como la disposición y el apoyo de la Secretaría de Gobernación.
and also the support and from the the association judge
Encabezada por la doctora Olga Sánchez Cordero
that's headed by Olga Sánchez Cordero,
la subsecretaria de los Derechos Humanos,
Secretary of Human Rights.
dirigida por el licenciado Alejandro Encinas y
That's directed by the attorney Encinas.
de manera particular al licenciado Neptali Granados, quien analizó y acompañó y apoyó nuestro caso.
Naphtali was the one who really supported us and fought for our case.
Yo soy Salazar y por tierra y libertad. Gracias.
I am Salazar and for land and liberty.
Bueno, pues esto es lo que se deseaba informar
So this is what we desired to inform you
el día de hoy.
today.
Decirles que cada vez más se consolida
That every day more so we consolidate
la función
the function
de la Secretaría de Gobernación
and this
como
the form for this Secretary of Defense, also with
la institución de defensa
also the Institute of Defenses
de los derechos humanos.
of Human Rights.
Esto es histórico.
This is historical.
Una secretaría
A secretary
que espiaba, perseguía,
that
eh,
that would spy and follow,
que ordenaba
that used to order
la represión
the
a los
detention
ciudadanos.
or repression of citizens.
Ahora
Now
está convertida en la principal institución del Estado
Is now the principal institution of the state,
mexicano
Mexican,
para la defensa
for the defense
de los derechos humanos.
of human rights.
Vamos a seguir cumpliendo con este propósito.
We're going to continue complying with this purpose.
Estamos
We are
ya
now
analizando
analyzing
la posibilidad
the possibility
de aplicar
of
de
applying
conformidad con la ley
conformity with the lay
procedimientos
procedures that are more
ágiles,
agile,
expeditos,
expedited,
para liberar
to liberate
a quienes injustamente
those that were
están en
unjustly
las cárceles
are
del país.
incarcerated in our there's lots of innocence in our
Mucha gente
prisons.
que por distintas razones
There's many people that for many different reasons
está en prisión
is
y
incarcerated
debería de gozar de
and they should be enjoying liberty.
trámites
The
que se tienen que hacer para liberar a
the trámites, not really, the formalities that need to be done in
quienes están en las cárceles son muy
the formalities are very
engorrosos, complejos,
are very complex, and
porque tienen que ver con
because it has to do
esa
with
acción
that
muy coercitiva
that
en
coercive
la aplicación
um,
de la justicia.
as application of justice.
Por eso tenemos que buscar la manera
That's why we have to look for the
de
way
agilizar procedimientos
to
en el marco de nuestras facultades.
to do
Porque
what is within our faculties to expedite these matters, because there is
hay quienes están en la cárcel
those that are incarcerated
y no tienen sentencia
and don't even have a sentence
desde hace años.
for years.
Hay quienes están en la cárcel, que
There's
son ancianos,
incarcerated people
Hay
that
quienes
are
están en la
elderly,
cárcel y nunca tuvieron defensores
that never had defense,
o son indígenas
or they're indigent,
que no hablan
that don't even speak
el castellano,
Castilian.
que hablan su lengua materna.
They speak their mother
Hay
tongue.
también
Also,
quienes están en la cárcel por
There-
delitos menores
there are those that are there for minor crimes,
por su situación,
but because of their situation and their
no tienen para pagar
and the circumstance of poverty had no money to pay
sus fianzas.
the fees
Entonces
or fines.
tenemos que
So therefore,
hacer una revisión.
we have to do a revision of all these cases.
Desde luego,
Of
hay
course,
a los que se les fabricaron delitos.
there are those that
Esa era
had crimes that were fabricated,
una mala
which is a bad
costumbre
custom
en los gobiernos anteriores,
in the previous
de
government,
que cuando se quería perjudicar a alguien,
that when they wanted to put somebody in a bad light or give them let's see, perjudicar, what's the proper word? Harm. Perjudicar is to harm. When they wanted to harm somebody, they would,
sobre todo a los opositores,
especially if it was an opposer,
se les fabricaban delitos.
they would fabricate crimes.
Maestros que fueron acusados de lavado de dinero,
There were teachers that were accused of laundering money
cuando querían imponer la mal llamada reforma educativa.
as they were trying to reform the poorly named educational reform.
Todo eso se está revisando para que pronto podamos
All these things are being revised or examined so that we can quickly
liberar a muchos inocentes
liberate many innocents
que están en las cárceles del país.
that are in the prisons of our country.
De luego tenemos que cuidar que no se hayan cometido hechos violentos, donde
And we also have to make sure that there were no violent acts that were committed
hayan perdido la vida
and that some may have lost their lives.
personas, todo eso
All these
tomarlo
things
en consideración,
have to be taken into
pero
account.
sí dar la libertad a
But
muchos
yes,
inocentes,
they need
a
to give
mucha gente que
liberty to many innocents and many people that
no debería de estar
should not be
en prisión.
in prison.
Ya la licenciada Olga Sánchez Cordero tiene esa encomienda y
So he has given that task to the attorney Cordero, who's the lady sitting there.
muy pronto vamos a informarles.
Very shortly we will be informing you.
Abrimos la sesión.
We open the session now
Si les parece,
for questions
sobre
and
estos
answers.
temas y luego nos vamos a lo general.
Okay, so first I want you guys, if you don't mind, to ask questions regarding these matters, and then we can go to the general questions.
Sí, buenos días, señor presidente. Hans Salazar, ZMG Noticias. La pregunta para este tema, ¿cuántos casos sobre la liberación de luchadores sociales, sobre defensores ambientales hay en Puerto?
How many cases for environmental people and people that were fighting for rights are imprisoned from the area of Puebla?
¿Hay algún número en específico?
Is there a specific number?
¿Qué casos son los que ahorita se tienen en lo inmediato? Sería mi primera pregunta.
So he's asking, how many cases do you know that are pending immediately? That's my question.
Sí, creo que Alejandro tiene.
Alexander has the number or the information. So there's a man there that has the information. So far they've found 31 that needed to be liberated. That's very important. And we've also been reviewing all the cases where people are asking us to review their cases, where they have presented us with files and details that are very concrete.
Hay que analizar como sabe el señor presidente de manera muy puntual, también tenemos de presos políticos y otros de políticos presos, no es lo mismo. O gente que cometió delitos que se quiere presentar como gente que fue violada de sus derechos humanos. Estamos analizando 538 casos en particular de la primera.
We are analyzing 530 cases in particular that were that we are considering that have areas of injustice, that had violated their processes, and that they had undue charges, and some that had obtained, like when they say they did it, when they make them by force, by torture, say that they did something. I can't think of the word. So, of course, we're going to continue in every one of these cases to review the matters. So even those that were done with the local governments and the police in that area.
Y aquí sí hacemos un llamado a los gobernadores de los estados, a los fiscales de las entidades federativas.
And here we are asking all the governors of their fiscal areas.
Para que coadyuven en el desahogo de la revisión de sus expedientes.
So that we want you to assist us in getting all whatever documents we need expeditedly.
Como lo estamos haciendo también en el caso de la Fiscalía General de la República.
As we are doing also in the case of the Fiscal Republic that we have in Puerta. The revision of those files. And let me look at that. Expedientes. I believe that means files. Or records. Expedientes means records. I keep forgetting that. So they're looking over the records. Okay.
A través de la figura de desistimiento puedan tener su libertad gente que está injustamente detenida.
So that once they review their records and their files, they can help people that are unjustly incarcerated obtain their freedom.
Segunda pregunta.
Next question.
Con el tema de la guardería ABC.
Regarding the matter of ABC Kindergarten.
Hace 10 años. Hay una querella que ya se ha mencionado y se ha confirmado por parte del director del IMSS en contra del exgobernador de Sonora.
So there is a like a case or a complaint that has been brought against the ex-governor of Sonora.
Hay más en puerta, más querellas en puerta por este caso, concretamente.
Is there more, I guess, let's see what querellas is. Oh, is there more complaints in that have been filed?
Contra autoridades que fueron en su momento y
For other officials that were also involved in this matter. So denuncia and complaint also mean the same thing.
Pues pueden ser responsables sobre el tema de la guardería ABC. ¿Qué otras acciones concretas y si va a haber reunión, si ha habido reuniones con...
So is there any more concrete or defined decisions or questions that are being addressed?
Los padres y familiares de este lamentable hecho.
For the parents and family of this lamentable situation.
La guardería ABC.
Sin duda hay varios procesos, juicios pendientes por parte.
There's, of course, there's several pending matters, judicial matters regarding this situation.
Desde particulares y otras instituciones.
From particulars and other institutions.
Sin embargo, en este caso particular a la que mencionaba es la que fue presentada específicamente por el.
But the one case that they mentioned was the one that was entered specifically by that one person. Sin embargo, is nevertheless. So nevertheless, they're still continuing.
Instituto. Incluso en febrero, una misiva por parte del entonces director general al ministro Saldívar, presidente de la Suprema.
So at that time, there was a misiva. What is a misiva? Misiva with a VA? I'm not really sure what it is not translating. Something that was, I guess, delivered, remitted, I'm not really sure.
Justamente para pedir que se agilizaran este tipo de juicios, aunque no de...
So that there was some kind of a mandate that they start working on these matters and expediting them.
Detallaba el número ni la, digamos, el estatus de avance de este proceso.
And they didn't even tell them the number or the status of this process.
Aprovecho para comentar justo sobre el tema de las reuniones.
She says, I'm going to take the opportunity to go ahead and tell you about the matter of the reunions or meetings.
La secretaria Cordero con el subsecretario Encinas, que a estas reuniones que ya se han llevado a cabo por parte de la subsecretaria.
So to these meetings that have already taken place with the Secretary of Human Rights of Governance.
Nuestra intención es sumarnos en esta nueva etapa para...
And our intention is to get involved in this new phase.
Poder continuar dialogando con todos.
To continue to dialogue with all
Los padres de familia.
the parents of the family.
Muy importante que es
And there is a matter that is, or a topic that is very important.
el restablecimiento de los servicios subrogados, de los servicios médicos subrogados.
So they also need to resume the medical services that were subrogated
Para los familiares, en ese
for the
sentido,
family.
el compromiso es seguir revisando
In this sense, our commitment is to continue to review
a plenitud y caso por caso de manera
plenty in its plenitude, or they're going to do plenty of research in all the cases that each individual case.
exhaustiva. No puede haber aquí pretextos, no puede haber aquí
They cannot have any pretexts. They cannot have any.
regateos de ninguna
They
naturaleza,
can't try to get out of it in any way, in any nature.
porque lo último que se pretende en esta Dirección General de
Because the last thing that we would pretend in this general
el IMSS es
for IMSS is to
agraviar a quienes ya
to aggravate or continue to have egregious behavior to someone who has already
fueron víctimas y que tienen un dolor muy
that have been victimized and have a deep pain.
grande, y lo peor que podría ocurrir es seguir teniendo
And the worst thing would be to continue to
una actitud que pudiera considerarse
continue to have an attitude that would
de agravio. Entonces,
would be considered egregious or aggravating.
en ese sentido, las reuniones las vamos a continuar en ese mismo proceso que ya se había iniciado.
And in that case, we're going to continue with the process that had already been initiated
En conjunto con la Secretaría de Gobernación,
in conjunction with the Secretary of Government.
yo soy de la opinión que lo ideal es poderlo hacer allá en
He says, I am of the opinion that the best thing would be to do it there
Hermosillo.
in Hermosillo.
Gracias.
So thank you.
Yo quiero aquí dejar claro algo.
I want to make something clear.
Yo conocí
That I
de
got to
cerca
know
este lamentable hecho
regarding this sad situation
porque llevo muchos años
because
recorriendo el país
I have many years
y
traveling the land.
hace 10 años,
And 10 years ago,
una semana antes,
1 month
días antes
before or a few
de
days
esta
before
tragedia,
of this tragedy,
estuve en Hermosillo
I was in Hermosillo.
y luego regresé
And then later I
Eh,
returned
a Hermosillo
to
varias
Hermosillo.
veces.
Actually, several times.
Sonora,
So,
todo el país.
over the whole country.
En ese entonces,
At that time,
cuando sucede esta tragedia,
when this tragedy
lamentable,
occurred, lamentable
había
tragedy,
elecciones
there was elections
para gobernador
for governor.
y se aprovecharon
And they took advantage
de esta lamentable
of this lamentable
desgracia
disgrace
para obtener votos,
to obtain votes,
así como se los estoy
just like
planteando.
I'm telling you.
Lo denuncié en su momento.
So I denounced it. I said it to the public at that time.
La desgracia llevó
So
a castigar
the
al
situation
partido que estaba en el gobierno.
wound up being damaging to the party that was at that time in government. And the word for disgrace was actually misfortune. Misfortune is desgracia. Okay.
Triunfó
So they triumphed,
el partido opositor
the opposing party.
que había tomado la bandera de que iba a haber justicia.
They took the banner that there was going to be
Llegaron al
justice,
gobierno
and then they went
y
into
se
office
olvidaron.
and they forgot about it.
Entonces,
So therefore now,
el director general del
the
Seguro
Director
me informa
General of Social
de que se
Security,
presentó una denuncia
that they presented a,
en
what do you call it, complaint
estos días
in these few days
él mismo
He himself
me manda una nota diciéndome
sent me a
de
note
que
saying that,
hay que tener cuidado
that we have to be
de
careful
que no vaya a suceder de que se trate de una denuncia formal.
So he wanted to make sure that he wouldn't treat it as a formal complaint
De una farsa.
of a farce or fake
Que no esté bien sustentada,
that was not well substantiated,
porque sea para salir de paso o por cuestiones del aniversario.
or because it was related to the anniversary. Maybe someone was trying to take advantage.
Y eso no lo podríamos hacer.
And we
Entonces,
would not be able to do that.
hoy en la mañana analizamos el asunto
So this morning we reviewed the matter or the topic,
y desde luego se mantiene la denuncia.
but of course we're going to go forward with the complaint.
Pero se va a reforzar.
But we are going to reinforce it
Para que se tengan todos los elementos.
so that we have all the elements.
Como todavía no se ratifica,
Because as of yet it has not been ratified.
al momento que la Fiscalía llame a la
At the moment that the Fiscalía, now that's a word I'm not real sure what it means. Fiscalía. Fis- I don't know, it's not coming up with a translation, but anyway, it's got to do with the government or someone who's going to be presenting the complaint
a la ratificación,
for ratification. They'll present it.
muchos más elementos, más pruebas,
So they'll present it with a lot more evidence and proof
para que se haga una investigación
so that,
seria.
so that they can do a serious investigation
Y haya justicia.
and there be justice.
Aquí se habló de una resolución
Here we spoke of some kind of resolution
que se llevó a cabo a partir de una investigación
that came forth as a result of an investigation
de la Suprema Corte de Justicia,
from the Supreme Court of Justice.
y en aquel entonces se
And at that time,
desechó
they threw it out,
lo que se proponía.
what they had proposed.
No quiero suponer nada,
I don't want to
no
suppose
quiero dar
anything.
conjeturas,
I don't want to make
pero
conjectures,
sí puedo decirles que ahora
but I can say that now
no hay
there will not be
impunidad.
impunity.
Es decir,
That is to
que
say,
nunca el presidente
never will the
ni
president
ningún
nor any
servidor público
public servant and the executive
a orientar sobre una resolución que tenga que ver con la impartición de justicia.
that will try to direct regarding a case that has to do with matters of justice.
Entonces, se inicia un proceso
So if a process is initiated,
que la autoridad competente resuelva.
the competent authority should resolve it. Oh boy, looks like the stream was ended. Okay, give me a moment. I'm gonna have to pause it here. Let me see if I can figure this out here, because it looks like my signal has been dropped for that particular channel, as sometimes occurs. Wow, they removed it. Very interesting. Let me keep trying here. This is very strange. Okay. Wow. They blocked the stream. Very interesting. Huh. Okay. I'm gonna stop it.